Hey guys, welcome back to Caffeine and Crime. Today is episode 7 of season 1, and I'm going to be discussing the case of Madeleine McCann. Now, before I jump into this, for one, I want to apologize because my voice might sound really strange in this episode, and I might sound winded in some parts. I may be losing my voice before this episode is over, and I apologize. I'm pretty sure I'm getting sick. So that's always fun. But I thought if I'm getting sick, I probably need to hurry up and get this one recorded and filmed for you guys before I sound even worse. I have been doing so much detailed research on this case the last 3 days. So since it's fresh in my mind, I want to discuss it. And this is a case that I have heard about for years. And it's another one for this season that has always stuck out to me. For a couple different reasons that I'll talk about in a second, but I did want to put the disclaimer out that there is so much to this case because it is an older case. I mean, it's not like that old, but this happened in 2007. So since then, especially with how much technology is out there now and how much has went into this case, there may be something that I leave out or that I forget. And I do apologize, don't come at me for it. But honestly, that's why I have my blog, so that I can put stuff there if I need to. You can check it out. I always have it right down below in the description of all of these episodes. But every time one of these episodes go up, that same day my blog goes up. Some days I'm a little delayed, and I try to get it up as soon as possible. But if there's certain things that I'm like, oh, I forgot I needed to add this to it or this and this. Because if I do forget something or I don't mention something, please go to my Instagram and message me and I will add it to the blog too. Just so that all the facts are there so we can discuss it. And then you can jump over to my Instagram at Caffeine Crime Podcast so we can discuss it underneath the episode post. So this case stuck out to me so much. I mean, in 2007, I was pretty young, honestly, but I was still old enough to know things. And I remember seeing Maddie's picture. And what really stuck out to me with this case was that she was the same age as one of my little sisters and one of my little brothers. So my mom and dad are divorced. I have me and my older sister, but whenever they divorced, I was the baby for 6 years until they both remarried and had the same year in 2003. My dad had a son, my mom had another daughter. So they are actually the same age that Maddie was. And so that is the biggest reason this case has always stuck out to me, because when I think about the case with Maddie, I always think about a lot of the time my little sister, because my little sister had blonde hair and I don't know, it's just so, it just stuck out to me. And I always think, she would be her age right now. Like, it's just crazy to me. So Maddie was born in 2003, and then in 2005, she had twin siblings, a brother and a sister. Her parents, Kate and Jerry, were both doctors, and they are from the UK. They had a really hard time conceiving, and Kate McCann has come out with a book about this whole case and about their life and stuff, and she said in her book that they had a really hard time conceiving Maddie in the first place. So they were very fortunate and just so blessed to have Maddie, and then having the twins 2 years later. Although they are from the UK, this case takes place in Portugal, as you probably are aware of already. They were on their vacation on holiday, and it was going to be a family vacation, although they wanted to still do the things that they like to do, but bring the kids to kind of make it a family thing. On this trip, it wasn't just them. They actually brought 7 of their friends and coworkers. From what I gathered from it, they all had kids. They were all staying in the same resort. They are now kind of talked about as the Tapas 9, which I'll get to. So yeah, they were all coming together as a group for their holiday. And they arrived April 28, 2007 at the Waterside Resort. So at this resort, they all had rooms close to each other. and they were on the ground floor. So this is kind of like, from what I gather, it's like a condo apartment vibes. So it's like when you walk in, you have like your own space. For instance, the McCanns, they had a place that had 2 bedrooms, and it was just kind of like their own like little living space. So they had their bedroom, and then they had the bedroom that they would put Madeleine and her 2 siblings in to sleep. Right next to this resort, there was this place called the Ocean Club, and the Ocean Club offered a daycare, kids services throughout the day, and other activities for like the adults. And that's where they spent most of their time at. During the days, they would either drop their kids off at the daycare or at the kid activities while they attended tennis lessons and that sort of ordeal. And then they would pick their kids up in the afternoon and take them to the pool at their resort. And there's pictures of them at the pool. But when evening came, they would, feed their kids, put their kids to bed at their, bedtime, and they would have a reservation at a kind of like a bar and grill type ordeal where they would go as a group of adults, have dinner and have drinks and that type of ordeal. It was kind of like their adult time while their kids slept. But with that being said, they're at this grill and bar, which was called the Tapas bar, which is why they're called the Tapas 9. So it was, the McCanns, and then it was other couples, and one of the couples brought their grandma, or like their mom, so like the kids' grandma, and they all had their kids that were asleep at the resort, and they would walk over to the Tapas bar to eat dinner every night with drinks. They didn't leave a nanny or anybody with their kids, any sort whatsoever. So their kids are sleeping at the resort by themselves in their rooms, while the parents are over across the pool at this Tapas bar. With that being said, they thought every hour a parent of each family would get up and go check on the kids. But everyone was in charge of their own kids. So one from each couple would get up every hour and go. So even though there was plenty of them to one by one go, they all wanted to check on their own kids. So when an hour would hit, Jerry would get up with, the other dads, and they would all go check on their own kids, or, that type of ordeal. And then when Kate got up, the other moms would get up and go check. So they all took care of their own kids. So on Thursday, May 3rd, after they had been there for a few days, Maddie asked her parents at breakfast why they didn't come for her and her brother when they were crying that night. They kind of looked at each other and were like, oh my gosh, they woke up, and they just kind of calmed her down and, kind of went on with their day, just kind of put it aside and thought, we'll have to resolve this. We're going to have to be more careful. That night, they did their routine like usual, and they went to their tennis lessons while the kids went to their activities. Then they hung out at the pool, and there is a picture of Madeleine at the pool, which is unfortunately the last picture they ever got of Madeleine. When the evening came, they went back to the Tapas bar after putting their kids to bed. But because they wanted to take caution to this, they decided to go ahead and start going every 20 to 30 minutes to check on their kids. By 8 p.m. that evening, they put the kids to bed, and by 8:30, they were already going and almost to the Tapas bar. They would leave the back sliding glass door unlocked for easy access of getting in on these, so close 20, 30-minute checks, they thought. But like I said, this is like an apartment or condo, so you have this huge building with all like these different levels of like apartment condo styles. And then you have behind it, you have the pool, and then on the other side of the pool, you have the Tapas bar. But the McCann's room or whole like condo was on the front of the building. So there was no way that they could have seen even their place from the Tapas bar. And to get to there, they had to walk from the Tapas bar around the pool, down the street, and then turn in front of the condo to get in and access their condo. But still, at the beginning of their trip, they actually went to the main person that was running the tapas bar and requested a table over in the corner, the closest to where their trip would be shorter to go to the condo. They later stated that it was because they requested that table so that they could see their room, but there was no way that they would be able to see their room from where their room was located and where the tapas bar was located. But they requested it, they requested this table, and they literally told this person, we want this table because we want to be close because we left our kids alone in our rooms sleeping. The woman wrote it down on a note and she said, yes, I will see what I can do. They did get the table every night, and that note was placed in the booking to let everybody know who worked there that these people requested this table. So the parents claimed that it was like dining in your garden, like your backyard, and your kids are asleep in your house, which I'm just going to stop here for a minute because I'm just like, I like to tell these podcasts like story time to where I can get the story out and then I can discuss my feelings on it. But like, I just can't. Like, this just blows my mind. It always has. I don't understand it. Like, I understand, like, I have a garden, you know, during the spring and summertime. And sometimes my child will be in my house playing on, you know, his game or, you know, playing with some toys or something like that. And I'll tell him, or, you know, I'll tell them like, mommy's going to run out to the garden real quick and, you know, pick today's findings and then I'll be back in. But it's like, if my kids were, you know, my front door's locked. If my kids were to come out the door that I went out, I would see them. I would see somebody go into my house if they were going to try to get into my house that way. Like, and it's literally like I'm going out there for 5 minutes to pick some tomatoes and get back inside. I just can't do that. Even in the summertime when we're out there grilling and stuff like that, if the kids want to go inside, there's one parent inside with them while the other one's outside. Like, I just don't understand it. But to think about taking my kids on vacation in a condo and being like, okay, we're going to tuck them in to go to bed, and then we're going to go way down to the beach this evening and, you know, walk on the beach at night while our kids are up there sleeping. I can't even do that. Like, if one of our moms were with us or one of our grandmas or, you know, we had a babysitter or something like that. I'm just like, I don't understand it. But what I'm trying to say is in those circumstances, if you had a babysitter, a nanny, a grandma, something like that, I would understand it completely. But it's the fact that you, oh my God, you do not just leave your kids. Like, I don't understand it. I will never be able to understand how they thought that that was okay. They said the trip from the bar to the apartment was like 5 to 7 minutes, which to me is still like, that's too much. Like, you should not be that far away from your kids. And like I said, the apartment, theirs was on the front. So there's no way that they could have seen it from the bar. And they had to literally walk up a street to get to where their kids were at. And they left a sliding door. Like, they left their back door unlocked. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this 5 to 7 minute trip is what they would take every 20, 30 minutes, they say. And so at 8:55, another parent that was with them, Matthew, he got up to go check on his kids. At 9:05, Jerry got up to go check on Madeleine and the twins. He goes through the glass door and he says that he thought the bedroom door that they left them in was a little bit wider than what they left it. He said that he went in and everything looked peaceful. All of them were sleeping. He said that he even had one of those gushy parent moments when you look down at your child and just think how beautiful they are. And he was looking down at Maddie when he was thinking that. So he's seen that Maddie was laying there. On his way back to the tapas bar, he bumps into a friend that he had met while they were there on vacation at the resort, and they just kind of started talking. And at this time, it was 9:10. Another parent, Jane, goes to check on her kids, and she says that she passed them while they were talking on the road and went in to check on her kids. She said that she saw them, but neither one of them remembers seeing her. By 9:30, Jerry was back at the table, and it was Kate's turn to go check on the kids. But again, Matthew, the other father, was getting up to check on his, so he said, hey, you want me to just go check on them? I can make sure they're still sleeping and stuff, and while I'm checking on mine. And, she said, yeah, sure, that would be great. And so he went to the apartment. He said that he went in and looked and they were fine, everything. But then he later said that he just kind of listened in and didn't hear anything. So he just assumed they were all still quiet, like his kids. So he tells them. But then at 10, Kate goes to do her check. She goes in and sees that the door is wider than they left it. And she realizes that even though that could have been Matthew. So I don't know why she thinks something's different with the door. If he did, push the door open just to at least listen. But she said she went to reach for the doorknob. And when she did, the door slammed closed from a gush of wind from the bedroom. So she hurried up and opened the door. And when she did, she realized that the window straight across was open. And she hurried up and looked over at her kids. And the twins were laying there. And Maddie was gone. So what does she do? She leaves the apartment, mind you, not carrying her twins that were still in that room. She runs all the way to the bar and she's yelling, Maddie is gone, they have taken her. So she automatically says that somebody has taken her daughter. So at this point, I'm going to be a little all over the place because all the notes I took were just kind of like, oh, I need to add that, and I need to add that, and I need to add that. So this might be a little all over the place, but by the time police got there, the parents had told them that someone had came in the window, that it was tampered with. They took Maddie out through it. But the thing is, they had even said to, I guess, the people and friends and family that were around them that the window was tampered with, it was broken, they got in that way, they got out that way, but the window was not tampered with, it was not broken, and it was actually closed when the police got there and were taking their pictures. And when they asked, Jerry had told them that while they were on their way, he was messing with the window to see if he could get it to open from the outside. I'll touch more on that in a little bit as well, but they did test for fingerprints on that window, and the only fingerprints they got were Kate's, not Jerry's, and nobody else's. And they also never mentioned that they think somebody came through the sliding glass door whatsoever. Like, the sliding glass door they left unlocked, that's like, no, nobody came through that way. Kate and Jerry told everyone that the Portugal police did a terrible job and stuck to their story that somebody came through the window, took their daughter, and left that way. And no other evidence that the Portugal police could come up with was good enough for them. They did not agree to anything but the story that they thought happened, which was just odd. It just really is odd. But they were very infuriated because somehow there was a leak on the file, the police report file. So it was like their whole case was leaked. And everybody got to see all the evidence that the police got, like that their story didn't match up, that there was a sliding glass door unlocked, that they were leaving their kids there by themselves. All of it leaked. So of course these parents were infuriated because now it made them look bad. And honestly, the file did have all the proof that their story just didn't match up completely. Although the police didn't recover evidence from the apartment very fast, and the evidence that the Portugal police did have wasn't a lot. They did not recover a lot in the beginning because when they first got there, their first initial reaction was, we have to find this little girl. So what they did was they mainly focused on the search and rescue of Madeleine. They didn't really care about what was going on in the apartment. They thought, this little girl's out here somewhere and we have to find her. The hours ticked by and time was getting very crucial in finding her alive and unharmed. They had search and rescue teams, helicopters, boats. They even brought in K9 dogs and they were going door to door in the neighborhoods and like going into people's houses and looking for Madeleine. They set up posts and streets and stopped every single car looking for Madeleine. Over 700 people were interviewed in just the first couple days. Over 100 officers worked night and day on the case. One of the people that were interviewed was the woman who was staying in the condo right above the McCanns. And what she said in her interview was that A couple nights before Maddie disappeared, she heard a little girl crying for hours that night. She said Maddie was crying and yelling for her daddy from 10 to 11:45 until she heard them come through their door. But the parents claimed that they went at least every hour. Maybe they weren't going as often as they said they were. At this time, their friend Jane, who went and checked on her kids while Jerry was on the street talking to his friend, had some details about that night that she was really afraid to tell them, but she finally couldn't hold it in anymore and she had to tell them what she had saw. She said that that night while she was walking up the road and she passed the men talking, she said that she walked on the same side of the road as what they were on. But later, when those two men, Jerry and the other man, were interviewed, they said that they were on the other side of the road. So her story doesn't really match up with a lot of reports anyways, but she said that when she got to the end of that road before she turned to go into their condo, she said that she seen a man walking by with his arms out, cradling a little girl in pink pajamas. Madeleine was wearing pink pajamas that night. She made a big fuss about it once she finally admitted to it, and she said that he looked like a local, like he didn't dress well. He didn't look like a tourist. But come to find out, he was just another tourist that was picking up his daughter from the night daycare that this place offered. This place literally offered a night daycare. This father was actually doing the correct thing and taking his daughter to a daycare while he went out. Jane was actually in her apartment when she heard Kate freak out. And by the time Kate and her friends and husband were back in the room with the twins that she left, Jane was like, what's going on? And they said, Madeleine's gone. They took her. And she said that she felt so bad, but she could not tell Kate at first. But of course, like I said, she finally did. The police told him to not tell the press. They said, if you get this leaked that there's a person out there with your daughter, they may try to kill her and toss her somewhere so that they are not caught. So they said, stay hush-hush about it so we can try to locate her first, since this is just the very beginning of the search. But within 10 minutes of Maddie missing, the McCanns literally contacted the press. The police also told them not to tell the press about Maddie's eye. Maddie had a rare spot on her eye that looked like a slit through her iris. It was a feature that really stuck out on Maddie, and they said if they realize that she has a feature that anybody could point out and be like, that's the girl, again, they might kill her and hide her so that they're not caught with her. Again, they leaked it to the press. They put up photos of her with this spot on her eye. They did not hold anything back. And I'm wrapping up part 1 of season 1, episode 7, Madeleine McCann here. Make sure you jump on over to part 2 now.